day everyone, this is Kyla Eunice Muñez from ESC 1-7. On this day, we have two topics to discuss: the cultural deviance theory and the delinquent subculture theory. But first, let's talk about the topic cultural deviance theory. So, cultural deviance theory is conformity to the prevailing cultural norms of lower class society causes crime. So it means it is consent to the predominant cultural standards as low class caused by society. For today's agenda, sociologists who follow the functionalist approach are concerned with the way the different elements of society contribute to the whole. They view deviance as a key component of functioning society. Strain theory, social disorganization theory, and cultural deviance theory represent three functionalist perspectives on deviance in society. Means, in sociology, the social disorganization theory is a theory developed by the Chicago School related to ecological theories. The theory directly links crime rates to neighborhood ecological characteristics. A core principle of social disorganization theory that state locations matters. In other words, a person's residential location is a substantial factor shaping like likelihood that the person will become involved in illegal activities. The theory suggests that among determinants of a person's later illegal activity, residential location is as significant as or more significant than the person's individual characteristics. For example, the theory suggests that youths from disadvantaged neighborhoods participate in subculture, which approves of delinquency, and that these youths thus acquire criminality in the social and cultural setting. Let's move forward to introduction. Why are some successful? Why do some commit crimes? Society has general laws. Offenders who break those laws are known as being deviants. Society views robbery, assault, and murder as deviant acts. Cultural deviance theory is a branch of social structure theory that sees strain and social disorganization, together resulting in a unique lower-class culture that conflicts with conventional social norms. Acts that are viewed as deviant vary between social orders. So when you're thinking, why are some successful? Because of crime. And why do some commit crimes? Because of their problems, because of their needs, so they can commit crime. What exactly is deviance? And what is the relationship between deviance and crime? According to sociologist William Graham Summer, deviance is a violation of established contextual, cultural, or social norms, whether folkways, mores, or codified law. Folkways are norms based on everyday cultural customs concerning practical matters like how you told a fork. Cultural deviance theory. Cultural deviance theories attribute crime to a set of values that exist in disadvantaged neighborhoods. Cultural deviance theories claim that lower-class people have a different set of values which tend to conflict the values of the middle class. Proves that social values make a commitment to criminal behavior, but that the presence of a genuine elective culture in our society has not been found. In any case, a few subcultural pockets, especially with respect to inner-city gangs, certainly exists and gives a few legitimacy for this point of view of deviance. With respect to social disorganization, we've established that the neighborhood crime fighting organizations are the hardest to set up in high crime neighborhoods and the easiest to construct in low-grade crime. With all that being said, there have been a few victories. Clifford Shaw and Henry Mackay. Cultural deviance theory. Cultural deviance theory suggests that conformity to the prevailing culture norms of lower-class society causes crime. Researchers Clifford Shaw and Henry Mackay 1942 studied crime patterns in Chicago in the early 90s. They found that violence and crime were at their worst in the middle of the city and gradually decreased the farther someone traveled from the urban center toward the suburbs. Shaw and Mackay noticed that this pattern matched the migration patterns of Chicago citizens. New immigrants, many of them poor and lacking knowledge of the English language, live in neighborhoods inside the city. As the urban population expanded, wealthier people moved to the suburbs and left behind the less privileged. And when you analyze it, you will see the color green with a higher percent, 4.7. That is the black people in the 2009 prison inmates. The article takes issue with earlier interpretations of differential association theory as a cultural deviance theory. It argues that the important distinction between control theories and differential association theories is whether motivation to crime is constant across persons, whether criminal organization, and subcultures are irrelevant to criminality, and whether crime can never be learned or transmitted across individuals. Control theories distinguish themselves from other theories of crime by answering yes to each of these questions. Differential association theory answers no. An interpretation of models of delinquency that develop a framework of comparing causal theories of delinquency and develop the control perspective was seriously flawed by its reduction of differential association theory to the assumption of cultural deviance theory. So meaning, ang artikulo ay kumuha ng issue sa mga naunang interpretasyon. Bilang isang cultural deviance theory, pinangangatwiran nito ang mahalagang pagkakaiba sa pagitan ng mga teorya ng kontrol at teorya ng pagkakaiba ng asosasyon, ay kung ang paggayak sa krimen ay pare-pareho sa mga tao. Kung ang organisasyong kriminal at mga subkultura ay walang kaugnayan sa kriminalidad, at kung ang krimen ay hindi kailanman matutunan o maipapasa sa mga individual. The next topic is Delinquent Subculture Theory, characterized above all by their deviant values and morals, which enable their members to gain prestige and recognition. So for today's agenda, Walter Miller published an article in journal called Lower Class Culture as Degenerating Milieu of Gang Delinquency. In this article, he displayed the lower class focal concerns, which include 6 of the following: trouble, toughness, smartness, excitement, faith, and autonomy. Trouble as a state about lower class communities is evaluated by how much a person creates it. In an article titled The Delinquent Subculture, an alternative formulation states that there are many difficulties associated with your action formation as stated in that theory. It assumes that the delinquent boy strongly values middle class status, or that the delinquent boy is not oriented to status in the middle class system. Kittus and Dietrich, 1958. So the question that comes to mind is how this subject turns into delinquency. Criminal and delinquent subcultures. A subculture is derivative of, but different from, some larger referential culture. The term is used loosely to denote shared system of norms, values, or interests that set apart from individuals, groups, or other aggregation of people from larger societies and from broader culture system. Common examples include youth subculture, ethnic subcultures, regional subcultures, subcultures associated with particular communications, and subculture that develop among people who share special interests such as bird watching, stamp collecting, or a criminal or delinquent behavior pattern. Neither membership in particular category, age, ethnicity, place of residence, occupation, nor behavior, bird watching, stamp collecting, crime, or delinquency is sufficient to define a subculture. However, the critical elements are rather the degree to which values, norms, and identities associated with membership in a category of types of behaviors are shared, and the nature of relationships within some larger cultural system between those who share these elements and those who do not. Means, in these terms, criminal or delinquent subcultures denote systems of norms, values, or interests that support criminal or delinquent behavior. The many behaviors specified in law as criminal or delinquent are associated with many criminal and delinquent subcultures. The norm, values, or interests of these subcultures may support particular criminal acts and a limited set of such as acts. Theory and research. Despite efforts to define theoretical construct, subculture, and related construct more precisely to describe and account for the empirical reality they represent, no general theory of subcultures has emerged. Instead, research has continued to reveal enormous variation in subcultures, and theory has proceeded by illustration and analogy, with little progress in measurement of formal theoretical development. Despite this scientific primitive situation, principles of subculture formation have been identified and knowledge of it has advanced. How do criminal and delinquent subcultures get started? Delinquent and criminal subcultures have a long history in industrialized societies. Herman and Julia trace the origins of adolescent subcultures, including delinquent varieties, to social changes that began in the 16th century. Levels of explanation of criminal and delinquent subcultures. The theories of criminal and delinquent subcultures are macro-level theories, short 1998. Their purpose is to identify what is about political, economic, and other social systems. that explain the emergence and social distribution of this phenomena. Other theories at this level focus on the impact of local and broader community, opportunities on delinquent subcultures, and on youth subcultures generally. Walter Miller, 1958, related lower-class culture to gang delinquency, while Richard Cloward and Lloyd Olin, 1960, found that different delinquent subcultures were associated with the availability of legitimate and illegitimate economic opportunities in local communities. Conclusion: the rich research materials that have accumulated regarding criminal and delinquent subcultures suggest two conclusions. 1. There is a great variety of such adaptive phenomena, and 2. They are of an ever-changing nature. Because they both affect social change and adapt to it, subcultures, including criminal and delinquent subcultures, continue to be important theoretically, empirically, and practically, that is, as a matter of social policy. Robert Sampson and his colleagues, 1997, find that willingness to intervene on behalf of the common good, together with collective efficacy, social cohesion among neighbors, is associated with lower rates of violent crime in Chicago neighborhoods. Implication for criminal policy. Like anomy theories, subcultural theories criticize social inequalities in stratified or class society, which are responsible for individual pressure and adoption problems. According to Cohen, a good criminal policy would be a good social policy. In fact, at the time when subcultural theories were being developed in the USA, political projects such as fight against poverty were at the forefront of criminal policy. With regard to the phenomenon of juvenile delinquency, social policy would have to be expanded, for example, by promoting the schooling of young people from lower classes. Critical appreciation and relevance. Cohen's subcultural theory draws attention to the fact that criminals, in their view, do not act criminally at all. As members of subcultures, they are subject to different behavioral requirements based on values and norms that deviate from those of mainstream society. Subcultural theory. In criminology, subcultural theory emerged from the work of the Chicago School on gangs and developed through the symbolic interactionism school into a set of theories arguing that certain groups or subcultures in society have values and attitudes that are conducive to crime and violence. The primary focus is on juvenile delinquency because theorists believe that if this pattern of offending can be understood and controlled, it will break the transition from teenage offender into habitual criminal. Some of the theories are functionalists, assuming that criminal activity is motivated by economic needs, while others posit a social class rationale for deviance. So that's all my report. Thank you.